You've eagerly anticipated reuniting after deployment. You and your family have missed one another dearly. Yet, things don't always go as planned. Co-parenting when there are lots of changes, coming back together after time apart, and readjusting your parenting after separation each present a unique challenge. Let's listen to some advice from seasoned parents on how to navigate these waters.
I was so excited to see my toddler, but I'd been away for a year and she didn't really remember me. I wanted to hold her and play with her, but she cried for her dad, and I was crushed.
My son was angry that I'd miss out on ball games and birthdays. I had expected a warm welcome from him. He was happy to see me, but he also had a lot of other feelings about my being away.
The first piece of advice that we can learn from seasoned co-parents is to expect mixed emotions.
My oldest child changed a lot while I was away. She no longer wants to sit on my lap, and when I reached out to hold her hand before crossing the street, she got offended. I had to adjust to interacting with her differently now that she's in a different developmental stage.
While I was gone, my wife had changed some of the kids' routines in response to their changing schedules. I felt like things were all over the place in the evenings. One kid was at baseball practice, another was in ballet class. I had been looking forward to eating dinner as a family every night, but my family had gotten out of the habit of doing that on school nights.
The second piece of advice from seasoned co-parents is to be flexible. People change over time. Be flexible about adapting to changes at home.
After being gone for so long, I didn't want to be the bad guy. I ended up not enforcing the rules enough. This was frustrating for my husband and for my kids.
I was excited to see the kids, and I wanted to do everything that I'd been missing out on. I wanted to throw their usual schedules out the window so that I could spend more time with them, but having me home was a big change for them. I learned that the more I could keep their lives the same as before, the more quickly they adjusted to me being home. So I stuck with their normal bedtimes and other routines. We planned time together around their usual schedules.
As we can see from these stories, it is extremely important to be consistent. Be careful about implementing big changes shortly after you return. Maintaining normal routines as much as possible can give children a sense of stability during times of transition.
I had assumed that he would take over dropping the kids off at daycare when he returned so that I could get to the gym every day before work. He had assumed that I would continue doing the morning drop-off, so he'd committed to early morning PT. I learned that I needed to articulate what I needed rather than making assumptions.
The biggest piece of advice that I would give to other parents is to communicate with their kids. Kids handle changes much more easily if they know what to expect. If kids' routine will be different now while mom is home, let them know that ahead of time. Mom will be taking you to soccer practice while she's home. We are going to eat dinner later while mom's home so that we can wait until she gets off work.
Communicating with your family members is vital. Make your needs known and let your children know what to expect.
My kids are normally pretty well behaved, but every time their dad comes back, they have more meltdowns than usual and they really test the rules.
I count the days until I can come home and see my kids. But I'll admit, being home is tiring in its own way. I'm so glad to be home, but I'm also exhausted by the constant demands of parenting. Sometimes I lose my temper with the kids, or set them in front of a screen so that I can get a break. I get frustrated with myself for not parenting exactly the way I want to. I've had to learn to be patient with myself.
Be patient with yourself and with your family. Adjustment is hard on everyone. We are all trying to do the best we can in a challenging situation.
Our extended family helps out a lot when I'm away. I used to feel like I needed to jump in and do everything myself when I was home. But I often come home tired and jet-lagged. My wife gets exhausted too from solo parenting. I learned that it was okay for us to ask for help, even when I'm home. Now, my parents take the kids for a weekend every now and then, so that my wife and I get a break.
I was frustrated that the kids kept asking me for everything they needed, even though their dad was home. I'd been looking forward to having a break. Meanwhile, he felt left out because the kids were seeking out me rather than asking him for help. We ended up meeting with an MPLAT counselor to help us talk through some things. Getting support has helped us navigate co-parenting.
Seek out support when you need it. Your community is here for you, both during and after deployment. Reach out to a military family life counselor if you need guidance in co-parenting. There's so much that we can learn from parents who have been in our shoes. Follow these guidelines to help you and your family thrive.